Yo, what's up, dogs? I am here to talk about The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham, directed by David Ayer. It's an hour and 45 minutes, which you could easily cut down to like an hour 30, no problems. I went on a Tuesday, like I said I would. Cheap night for this movie, for sure. And I saw it at 4 o'clock, and I think there was like 5 people there. Like, no one showed up for this movie at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, which is acceptable. I don't ever expect anyone to be at a movie theater at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, especially like that's work day. We should be working, and I just happen to have that day off in my work schedule. So I was like, let's do this. I got myself a coffee at the theater, which I rarely do. I usually bring a coffee in, but they have Starbucks there, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give you guys a little bit of money because I'm kind of off the whole concessions, like no more popcorn, pop, and treats. I'm just trying to look after my body a little bit. I'm 44. We got to do some things, okay? I'm not dying, but I'm trying to look after my health. So I got a black coffee from the Starbucks there. It was delicious. And, I had prime seat right in the center of the theater. Honestly, I think there was only like 5 people there in total. And when the movie was all said and done, I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed myself the entire time I watched this movie. If you like Jason Statham movies, first of all, like if you like Jason Statham movies from the 90s, like when he first jumped on the scene and like the early 2000s and his body of work of an action movie guy, you are going to enjoy this film no matter what. Like, this is a perfect rainy day film. That's how I would like to classify this movie. This is a movie you will own, you will rent, you will buy, you'll see it on TV, and you will sit there and watch it on a rainy day or a sick day, and you will be entertained, and you will have a good nap while you watch it, and you'll wake up and be like, oh, that's a cool scene, let's watch it. That is where this movie is. I enjoyed myself. I got lots of notes here. Let me break down the story for you. So, spoiler warning right here. And the story is very straightforward, okay? We have a character. Oh, sorry about that weird edit. An ambulance was screaming through, so we had to cut it. I'm back. Let's get into the story. It is a very, very straightforward story, okay? We have our character, Adam Clay, played by Jason Statham, who is a beekeeper. Like, he's a beekeeper. He looks after bees, and he makes bee honey. He makes honey, okay? And he gives honey to Eloise Parker, who is played by Phylicia Rashad, and that is how they're like kind of work, right? It's this relationship where he's this unknown person who's taken shelter on her farmstead or her homestead, and in return of living there, he looks after things around the homestead, and he also runs the bees and looks after her and gives her honey every now and then. But like, she doesn't know a lot about him, and she stays out of his business, and vice versa. But there is a common kinship / friendship develops between these two people, and that is shown in this movie. But things happen to her that lead to tragic events. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it. Where she loses all of her money due to these corrupt scammers, online scammers, right, that are trying to fish her data and get her into her bank accounts, which they do because she's old and she doesn't understand technology, and she falls for the scam. And thus, she takes her life, and this now brings in Adam Clay in revenge mode because of what they did to her, and now he's going to go after all of them. Yeah, that's the whole story. And he does. He literally does all of that. And am I missing anything in the story? I don't think so, because as the story unfolds, we learn more about the beekeeper. And there's more to the beekeeper than him just keeping bees. Like, he is a legit beekeeper, but the beekeeper is actually also a part of an organization that operates outside of like the FBI and the CIA and stuff. There are an elite group of killers that are tasked to make sure that the hive is protected. And if there's any disorder within the hive, then the hive itself gets dismembered, destroyed, and then rebuilt from the ashes. And that's kind of things that we learn as the story goes on. And it's cool. Like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of it. And we're going to go over my list right here. I have the good, the bad, and the silly. And yeah, man, like I already said, I enjoyed it myself. It was a fun time. It was a good action movie. So let's get into the good, okay? First thing first, like I've already said, it's a good action movie. There's a lot of violence in this. There's a lot of classic just Jason Statham kicking butt, you know? There is cool kills. There's cool set pieces. There's cool combat in these set pieces. There's I would say that the bad guys are cool. Like, everyone kind of brings something different to the table. The villains are cool, even though one of them is such a whiny little bitch. But like, they're all interesting. You know what I'm saying? And you're kind of just like, oh, this is like level 1 of the fights, right? And then he goes into level 2, and then level 3, and then level 4. Like, it's like a good ramp up of the violence. And what do you expect? It's it's actually, you know what? This could be probably, maybe, I would consider it. This could be one of Jason Statham's top 5 action films, because the action really does just keep ramping up as it goes on. It takes a very John Wick-ian approach to the release of action throughout a film. And as you know how Wick lays it all out, right? Its progress. The Beekeeper follows a lot of the notes as well of, we're starting small, we're ramp, and it's an enjoyable time. You know what I'm saying? It's enjoyable. It is. To my next thing that I liked, I like the story. It's so corny. The whole story is so corny. I do have a bad in this, though. There is a bad in here and a silly. Okay, a part of the good is the silly, is like how corny this is. But like, I really enjoyed how corny this story is, and everyone like really takes it very seriously. And I liked the concept of the hive, and I liked the concept of the beekeeper, and I liked the mythology that they were kind of trying to put together. And honestly, some of it borrows a little bit from John Wick. That's okay. You can be inspired by other products that are out there. We all are. But like, it's there's a lot of it where you're just like, oh, I've seen this. However, it's still enjoyable. That's the thing. Like, I still had a good time seeing and being brought into this world. Yeah. There's nothing. I don't know. You guys might disagree with me on this one, but I truly just had a good time watching this action film from the beginning. I like the concept in here, so again, another note of the good. I like the concept of the hive and the beekeeper and the rules of this world that they were building. Like, I liked all of that, even though some of it is corny, like I said, but I still enjoyed it. It's just like, oh, this is interesting. Like if you're going to John Wick it, and you're going to build something cool, then like you got to appreciate it. I felt like they put in some good time and some like good work in here trying to figure out like, well, what is the hive, right? And like, as you start thinking about it and watching the movie go over, you're like, oh, so the hive is the United States of America presidency, right? And that is the hive. She is the queen bee. So we have a president in here who is played by Jemma Redgrave, who's President Danforth. And she is the queen bee. That's how I looked at her. As you go through all these, as you go through the mythology of this world that they've built, she's the queen bee. So it could also be the president is the queen bee as well. She, queen of this hive, and the hive is America. And so within the hive is the worker bees and all that stuff. So you got the CIA, the FBI, and stuff like that. But outside of it is the beekeepers, who keep the hive working as a functioning unit. And then as stuff falls apart within the hive, the beekeepers come into play and reorganize it, like I've already said, right? And I just enjoyed all of that. I liked all that concept and thought, and I'll be honest, it's in the bad. It doesn't get delivered effectively in the dialogue and how the story is unfolding, but as me who's thinking of these things, I'm like, oh, okay, this all makes sense to me. I enjoy it. So with that in mind, there's a great scene in this movie that I really like. It's my favorite scene in the movie. I wrote it down, where Jeremy Irons, who plays Wallace Westwild, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, is he's like an ex-CIA agent, right? And he works for Danforth, and he works for... See, I thought he worked for Danforth. I didn't actually think they were ever related, so he looks like he's just like the uncle of the family, right? And so he's in charge of Derek Danforth, who's played by Josh Hutcherson. And Derek Danforth, he's the guy who's in charge of the online scams, and so he's just like this sniveling little shit, you know what I'm saying? And he is such a douche and such a dick, and you really hate him and you want to see him die. And he has created such a crap storm. I should just say shit storm, it doesn't matter. That the character Wallace has to call in to the hive. Like, he has contacts in the hive. And so the hive say, yes, we're going to release a beekeeper, the one who's replaced Adam Clay, who is a retired beekeeper. The one that's replaced him is going to come out and handle business. And you have a really good fight scene of this woman. I didn't write her name down. I totally forgot to write her name down. Who is a beekeeper. And they have this great fight scene at a gas station. And it's awesome because like it is just good action sequence. And you know, Jason Statham, he handles business, right? And he kills her and all that jazz, okay? But the best part of this whole scene, not just the combat, is later on the hive call Wallace and say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. It's up to you. And I thought that was awesome. I thought that was so funny and cool, where they're just like, the hive itself, the organization of the beekeepers are like, no thank you. We don't want anything to do with Adam Clay. We tried, and it's up to you. Deal with it. You know, and I really appreciated that, because that's like a very it's a very good way to elevate your hero to be S tier rank of badassery, that even the organization that could control him say, no thank you, we're done. And I really appreciated that. It is probably my favorite scene in the entire movie, okay? So that really is like all my favorite things in this film. Like the action, like I said, the action's great. The action is really good. Like, it is good. Like, the action is good. I don't even think I could say anything else about that. Like, the action is cool. I liked how the movie ended, even though the third act sucks. Like, story wise, it falls apart. Okay, but the action wise, great from beginning to end. All the action sequences are great. However, the story that ties everything along, not that good. And that's going into the bad. So let's just lead right into the bad. And, okay, the first thing that I hate about this movie, okay, and I hated it right from the very beginning, is the death of Eloise Parker, Phylicia Rashad, made absolutely no sense at all in this film. Because she kills herself, okay? So she falls for the trap. They take all of her money, and it's millions of dollars, right? And she runs like a charity organization that has like $2.5 million in it. And these guys take everything, plus all of her own personal finances and stuff like that. So her only means to fix the problem is to kill herself. Like, I didn't understand why she would do that, period. And I don't know if that could be explained away maybe in the sequel, that there's more to her and her character and that organization maybe that meets the eyes, you know what I'm saying? But in this instance of this one movie, the standalone movie, her taking her own life was absolutely absurd to me, and I did not like it at all. I kind of thought, you know, maybe over dinner, because there's a dinner sequence that he shows up to, that this all happens before dinner, right? And maybe she could have been like, dog, I've lost everything. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then he could just be like, don't worry, ma'am. I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why she killed herself. It makes no sense. It didn't. It annoyed me more than got me on board with Adam Clay going out there kicking everyone's butt. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like it. It took me out of the movie for a minute there because this woman comes across as very wholesome too. Like, she's just a wholesome woman. You don't want to see anything bad to her, and then she goes and kills herself, which makes no sense. It's absolutely dumb. So the next thing I didn't like is Agent Veronica Parker, who's played by Emmy Raver-Lampman. She is the daughter to Eloise. Is it Eloise? I can't pronounce this name for some reason. And she is an FBI agent. She doesn't like Adam Clay. I honestly don't care for her character. The only thing that's good about her is that she is kind of the person who is unraveling the mystery behind the hive and the beekeepers and all that stuff. So she's cool in that regards, but I just don't like her character at all because she gets in the way of Adam Clay taking down the organization, taking down the organization that led to her mother's death, fixing everything. Like, she is in the way of him fixing everything. And I found it kind of annoying where I'm like, girl, can you just like get out of the way and or help, or maybe even cause a distraction, like get the FBI agents off his tail, like be a contributor, not a wall, that he has to keep getting around all the time. So yeah, I didn't like her character at all. I wrote down the dialogue is so bad, and it is. It's not. This isn't Shakespeare. This is an action movie, and it's hokey, corny dialogue, and some of it is funny, and some of it is not. And there's a lot of puns. It is what it is. It's an action movie. I don't expect grade A dialogue from an action movie. Get me to where I need to get to with your words, and then entertain me with the action. You know what I'm saying? What else do I got in here? Yes. Sometimes the movie gets boring. And this is mostly when there's no action, okay? So when we're getting story beats, and this is usually when we're following Agent Veronica around, okay? It gets a little boring. You're kind of like, I don't care about any of these sequences. I just want to watch Adam Clay go to the next fight. And so if they ever decide to do a sequel, less FBI agent, more Adam Clay just kicking butt. That's all I want, okay? But that's part of the bad. So let's get into the silly here. And honestly, this silly it's nothing, all right? Like, I wrote down, the hive is corny, and it is, but it's so much fun, okay? I like the elite killers. I like the beekeeper concept. I like the hive concept, and like the action's fun. Like, it's corny. It is. But you know what? Sometimes you need some silly corniness in the middle of January, February, when they don't drop too many fun movies. You know what I'm saying? And you just need that little escapism from all the gray clouds. And you just want to have a little smile on your face. That's where the Beekeeper's coming into play for me right here. Sure, I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5. This is like a 2 out of 5. But I enjoyed myself. And there's going to be concepts in here that are silly. You're going to walk out of this movie and go, oh, this is very John Wick. But you know what? Like I already said, you can be inspired by John Wick action movies. There's a lot of movies out there that are inspired by John Wick action, right? And don't hold it up against that, though. Look at it as its own entity and be like, I was entertained, And that's me. I was entertained by this film. And you know what? At the end of the day, when I went home and I had it, we're done having my tea when I'm at home, I want a sequel. Okay? That's how much I enjoyed this movie. I want a sequel. And I think it deserves a sequel. I think it does. I don't know. Let me come back to the Beekeeper world. Because I enjoyed myself the first time around, and I will come back for the second time. And you know what? If it becomes too corny and too horrible, because you can go bad with corny, right? You can go bad with corny, and once it reaches that point, guess what? The series is over. You know what I'm saying? Expendables 4, by the way, that's what that is. So should you go and see this film? I think you should. Cheap night. Bring your friends, bring your family, bring your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you got. Have a good Tuesday movie and just enjoy yourself. Shut the brain off and escape with the Beekeeper, because it's a fun time. You will have a fun time. If you can't, get around the dialogue, you're going to enjoy all the action sequences, okay? If the story's too corny for you, don't worry. There's good action sequences on the way. Now, will I own this movie? Probably. At some point in time, the Beekeeper will be in the collection. And I think you should own it too. Like, rent it, download it, whatever, when it comes out. See this film. Add it to your collection. I think you will like it. It's, like I said, a perfect rainy day film. And on that note, that is the end of my review. And the next thing I'm probably going to review will be, I saw Poor Things, and I'm going to see Argyle. So those are coming up, and I might sneak in the Zone of No Interest. That's what my friend keeps calling it, Zone of No Interest. So it's stuck in my head, but I know it's called Zone of Interest. I'm going to try and sneak that movie in still. Then I got other stuff coming up too. It's busy. And on that note, I'm out of here. So whatever movie you guys are watching, I hope you're loving them and digging them. I'm out of here. Peace.